This episode of Brutally Human is brought to you by Cope Notes. You ever have someone ask, "You good?" And you immediately go, "Yeah, I'm fine," even though 30 seconds ago you were contemplating the meaning of life while crying into a Pop-Tart? Yeah, same. We've all lied when someone asked, "How are we doing?" Not because we're trying to be fake, but because somewhere along the way, honesty started feeling like a burden. We're out here walking around with unprocessed grief, burnout, social anxiety, existential dread, and a caffeine addiction that doubles as a personality trait. But if someone asks how we're doing, we hit them with a, "Ha, yeah, I'm good." Like we didn't just Google, "Can you die from overthinking?" This episode, we're talking about why we do that, why "I'm fine" is a reflex, why vulnerability feels like emotional streaking, and why the people who need help the most are usually the ones pretending they're okay. This is Brutally Human, and today we're ripping the mask off the world's most common lie. If this video hits you in your emotional kneecaps, do me a favor, like it, drop a comment, and subscribe. Because nothing says mental stability like spiraling together.
Before we dive in, if your brain ever feels like it's stuck in a blender of anxiety, overthinking, and trauma flashbacks, you're not alone. Cope Notes sends daily mental health texts from real humans with real psychology behind them. Use code UNCOVERED at checkout for 10% off any Cope Notes subscription, because healing doesn't have to be overwhelming.
So here's the thing. The phrase, "You good?" has become society's most polite way of asking, "Are you emotionally imploding or just tired?" And somehow it always triggers the same response. "Yeah, I'm fine." Even if your entire life is in shambles, even if you just had a breakdown in your car, even if you're just hanging on by the emotional equivalent of dental floss, you still say, "I'm good," like you're auditioning for a toothpaste commercial. Why? Because telling the truth feels way too intimate, especially when the question was clearly meant to be a formality, not a real invitation to unravel. We've been socially conditioned to treat emotional honesty like a party foul. "Oh, you're actually telling me how you feel? Weird. I just asked, 'You good?' because I didn't know how else to start a conversation while we're both pretending we didn't see each other at Target." And don't get me wrong. Sometimes we lie because we genuinely don't have the energy to explain the chaos we're dealing with. Other times, we lie because we don't even know how we're doing. Because when you spend years pretending everything's okay, eventually you forget what not okay even looks like. Some of us have spent so long being strong that vulnerability feels like a malfunction. Like, if we actually open up, people will look at us differently. Like, we'll scare them off. Or worse, they won't care. And that's the root of it, isn't it? We're not just afraid of being seen, we're afraid of being seen and still ignored. So we default to fake smiles and auto responses. We joke about our trauma. We use sarcasm as a shield. We tell ourselves, "I'm fine," because it's safer than saying, "Actually, I'm falling apart and I don't know how to fix it." But here's the truth. Lying about your pain doesn't make it go away. It just makes you lonelier inside of it. And saying "I'm fine" isn't strength. Real strength is being able to say, "No, I'm not okay, and I need someone to hear that." So, if you've ever choked back the truth to keep a conversation comfortable, or laughed off your anxiety because you didn't want to seem dramatic, this one's for you. Because it's not just about honesty, it's about permission. Permission to be real, to be messy, and to be fully human in a world that keeps asking just for highlight reels. So let's talk about what it actually means to be good. You know what's wild? Telling someone you're having a bad day feels way more intimate than sending them a thirst trap. Like, here's a picture of me in a towel. Cool. But tell you I cried on the bathroom floor because my brain turned against me again? Too far. We've made vulnerability feel like emotional nudity. And I get it. Being vulnerable means putting your feelings on the table and hoping someone doesn't swipe them off like a bored toddler at brunch. It means admitting you're human in a world that only claps for perfection, hustle, and emotional restraint. We're not taught to express pain. We're taught to tough it out, to suck it up, and not to make it weird. You know what's actually weird? That we can live in the same body our whole lives and still be too afraid to say, hey, I'm hurting. We treat vulnerability like it's a weakness, when really, it's just honesty with courage attached to it. And part of the problem is the whole positive vibes only culture. People say you attract what you project. Okay, but I've been projecting stability for years, and all I attract is more emotional suppression and people who think I'm fine when I'm mentally spiraling in high definition. And let's talk about that friend filter. You know the one. You could be real, but instead you go, nah, they got stuff of their own. I don't want to be a burden. So you shrink. You silence yourself. You carry the weight quietly because you're afraid your pain will inconvenience someone else's peace. But here's the truth. Real connection doesn't come from surface level check-ins. It comes from shared humanity, from being willing to say, I'm not okay, and hearing, me too. That's where healing begins. Not in pretending to be good, but in being brave enough to say you're not. So the next time someone asks, you good? Pause. Take a breath. And if you're not, say so. You might just give them permission to do the same. So I want to tell y'all a quick story. It's not funny, it's not dramatized, it's just something that happened, and it stayed with me. Someone once asked me, you good? And for whatever reason, maybe I was tired of lying, or maybe I just wanted to be seen that day, I told the truth. I said, actually, I live with schizophrenia. And they looked at me like I had just told them I had the plague. Like I was contagious. Like I had turned into someone else in front of their eyes. They didn't ask how I manage it. They didn't say, thanks for sharing that with me. They just found increasingly awkward ways to end the conversation. Damn, that's wild. Yo, I gotta head out. Take care, bro. And I stood there, knowing I had just shared something real and vulnerable and watched someone back away from it. Not because they were evil, not because they didn't care, but because we as a culture still don't know what to do with honesty that makes us uncomfortable. We say, be honest. We say mental health matters. But when someone actually opens the door and lets you see the chaos they're managing every day, suddenly it's too much, too messy, too real. And that's why people lie when people ask how we're doing. Because we've learned that telling the truth can cost us connection. We've learned that some people only want the sanitized version of us, the filtered version. The one that smiles, nods, and says, I'm fine, even when we're cracking apart inside. But let me say this. Telling the truth doesn't make you a burden. It makes you brave. And if someone can't handle your honesty, that says more about their limitations than it does about your worth. You are not your diagnosis. You are not your past. You are not too much. You're just someone who's been through some things, and you deserve to be heard, not avoided. So if you've ever opened up and been met with silence, awkward exits, or pity wrapped in fake concern, I want you to know this. You didn't mess up by being honest. You didn't overshare. You showed up as yourself. And that's the version of you that deserves love and acceptance the most. So let's flip the script. Let's say someone doesn't lie when you ask, "You good?" Let's say for once they actually say, "No, I'm not. I'm overwhelmed. I'm barely holding it together." Now what? This is the part no one talks about, because asking "you good" is easy, but responding with empathy and presence, that takes emotional maturity, which, let's be honest, not everybody has installed in their software. So what do you do when someone drops the truth in your lap? First of all, don't panic. You're not being asked to fix them. This isn't a job interview. You're not applying to be their therapist. You're just being asked to be a human being. That's it. Just hold space, listen, validate. It's literally okay to say, "Thank you for telling me that. I appreciate you being real with me. Do you want to talk about it more, or do you just want to be heard?" That's it. That's the magic. Not solutions, not pep talks, not stay positive motivational quotes from Pinterest. Just presence, being there. And look, if you're not emotionally in a place to hold space, that's okay too. You can say, "I want to be here for you, but I'm not in a great headspace right now. Can we talk later today when I can be fully present?" That's real. That's healthy. That's boundaries and connection. We're all so scared of saying the wrong things, we end up saying nothing. And silence, to someone who's struggling, can sound a lot like abandonment. So here's your permission slip. You don't have to fix it. You don't have to have all the right words. You just have to be willing to show up. Messy, imperfect, honest. Because when someone tells you they're not okay, what they're really saying is, "Please don't leave me alone in this." And showing up for someone in that moment, that's what makes you a safe place. That's what makes you good. If today's episode hit close to home, good. It was supposed to. Because next time someone asks, "You good?" and you feel that urge to say, "Yeah, I'm fine," when you're absolutely not, I hope you remember that you're allowed to tell the truth. And if someone tells you they're not okay, just pause, breathe, and give them the one thing we all need but rarely get: presence without pressure. No more fake smiles, no more masking the pain, no more stuffing your feelings down into that emotional junk drawer we all pretend doesn't exist. You're not weak for feeling. You're not broken for struggling. You're human. And that's exactly why you belong here. Next week, we're diving headfirst into the topic, you don't have ADHD, you're just on TikTok all day. Yeah, we're going there. Self-diagnosis, overstimulation, dopamine chasing, and the fine line between I relate to this and I probably need an actual doctor. It's gonna be hilarious. It's gonna be brutal. It's gonna be exactly what your brain didn't know it needed. So until next time, do you, but do it with love and affection. I'm Kyle Fields. I love you, and I'll see you next episode. Good night.